Welcome into Press Box Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, along with Luke Jackson, the managing editor of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com. And with us, Luke, is the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. And I just want to point something out to our viewers out there. Right on top of his Orioles jersey, I guess you can't really see my finger, is a bobblehead, Ross Grimsley. I didn't know they made bobbleheads back in those days.
Let me get it. I'll show you.
Okay.
There's a little story behind it.
All right.
Here it is right there.
Okay.
Now you notice it's in
You got the afro,
yeah,
the perm fro.
that was in the Oriole uniform. You notice there's no Oriole insignia on here. This was a giveaway in Augusta, Georgia when I was coaching down there.
Okay.
And they approached the Orioles and they said, no, well, you can't put a logo or anything on there. It says Orioles. So
Yeah,
I guess they were expecting big money and
yeah, it would have been
didn't get squat.
It would have cost the club millions of dollars
Oh,
if they had allowed that.
at least.
So I've got a bunch of bobbleheads from.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Luke, look at the picture behind. How old are you in that picture, Ross?
The
You
one
look
up,
like you're about 18 years old in that picture.
that was
That was an Oriole picture.
that was my first year. That was 74.
74.
You,
All right,
you
go
know
ahead,
what,
Luke.
you know what it reminds me of, Stan? Have you ever seen the Curb episode where Richard Lewis does a self-portrait?
Yeah.
Richard
That's
Lewis.
that's Ross's self-portrait. That's what he thinks he looks
Yeah.
like. But anyway,
Uh,
I've got a bunch of bobbleheads from throughout the years at Orioles games. Like I got Palmer, I got Eddie Murray, I
Right.
got all those guys, and I would love to add Ross Grimsley to that collection.
I
So
told you
come
I was
down
looking for
So
the last there's a bobblehead that is in Reading, Pennsylvania, in one of the rooms they have there for adult beverages after the game. And if you notice, now here's what it should look like. But the
Mhm.
one in Reading, the arm is on a leg, the leg is on a hat. Body parts are missing. They've glued them on, so everybody gets a big hee haw out of that. So anyway,
right.
hey, I had a bobblehead, and it was
That's
yay
great.
me.
That's great. Anyway, we're gonna recap the World Series, but we'd be remiss if we didn't start today with some news at the warehouse, Luke. And I'm going to put you kind of like you're our newsman on the scene. The Orioles have tendered a few players and decided not to tender one, and they have a decision looming in the next hour or so. Around 5 o'clock today, they have to decide to make a qualifying offer to Corbin Burns and Anthony Santander. So go
Right.
ahead.
So they ended up picking up the options for Sir Anthony Dominguez, Ryan O'Hearn, and CNL Perez. Dominguez and O'Hearn are both $8 million, and Perez, I believe, is 2.2 or 2.4 million in that territory. Now, if they had declined Perez's option, he would have been still under club control. He would have been eligible for arbitration, but they just decided to buy that out. I think they've got like 14 or 15 ARB eligible guys as it is. Just take care of this one and
Right.
move on to the next. They ended up declining the option on Danny Kalum. He has 6 years of major league service, so as best anyone can tell, he's a free agent. And that option was $4 million. He missed about half the season with bone chips in his left throwing elbow. So I don't know if there were any complications from that following the season, but when he has been on the mound the past 2 seasons, he's been one of the best left-handed relievers in the American League. So that was very surprising. And as you said, Stan, by 5 o'clock today, they've got to extend qualifying offers to Santander and Burns, which will make the Orioles eligible to get a pick in return if those two end up signing elsewhere.
Ross, no real big surprise on who they did decide to tender contracts to, Dominguez and
Right.
O'Hearn. Both to me make a little bit more money than I'd like to be paying them, but going into the season, they are two potentially important players. CNL Perez at that level is a no-brainer, 2.4, 2.5. What's your take on the Coulomb move? Simply because when Brandon had access to him, he really liked to use them a lot.
Yeah, and that's very possible that could have led to some issues. But bone chips is usually that's not a major thing, and they usually rebound. It's an aggravating injury, and I've seen several guys that have had that happen before. Had bone chips. It takes a little longer than you would expect. It doesn't sound just sound like you cut in there and take them out, but a little bit more to it, obviously, with some of the problems. But yeah, there's a little. He's a free agent. They can negotiate, still negotiate with him and possibly sign him. So that's a little more later on, and we'll see what happens. But I think he could be a big part of that bullpen.
Luke, it seemed for all intents and purposes like he loved being here and that Brandon Hyde loves him. Is there a possibility that this is just them hiding a position? And I know there's a risk involved that you lose him, but hiding him where he's not committed to the club, and then they have an extra roster spot to potentially protect some player for the Rule 5 draft.
Maybe that would
Or is
make
that a
sense,
long
but
shot?
I think that's a long shot because like $4 million for Danny Clint, like, shouldn't you be able to easily move that contract if you had to? Like, that's not very much money for a quality left-handed reliever. Again, unless we're missing something totally and he's still hurt. I
Right.
don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying maybe they've got complicated numbers, a numbers game on who they want to keep and who they want to make available for the Rule 5. And maybe that's one position that they don't have to, they, you
I will
know,
say this for Danny. He was one of my favorite Orioles to watch the past 2 years.
yeah,
I mean, he's got 6 different pitches and he can throw them all for strikes. And if you sit on the side, meaning like on first base side or third base side, you can see the depth he gets on his breaking balls, especially that big curveball. Good dude too.
yeah,
I talked to him a couple of times when we were down in Sarasota last year, Stan.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
know
I'm
you
just, I'm
liked
just
him a
surprised
lot.
by
Yeah.
this.
He
Ross,
was he's pretty effective to left and right-handed.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a big one. That's a
So
big
that
thing,
that means a
Ross.
lot right there. So that's a big thing, especially with that big breaking ball. You
Hmm.
can, you can throw that over the plate and then get him to fish for it down his zone. He can locate it pretty well. So maybe there's something an underlying issue with the chips. I don't think so, but yeah, we'll wait and see. But I think he could be a big part of that bullpen.
Ross, let me ask
Ross
you something.
is
Oh,
Ross real quick. Is there with Soto, Perez, and Aiken? You think there's a possibility that just said, "Hey, that's enough left-handers"? To me, you can't have enough left-handers.
Well, I mean, if like with him, he can get left
You
and
can get
right-handers out.
lefties and righties out.
He's
Yeah,
got the big breaking ball. He throws strikes. That's another thing. You want guys that throw strikes because, and we've seen it. This is a day and age where guys throw hard as they can, spin the breaking ball as hard as they can. They'll be 3-2 on every hitter, or not every hitter, but they'll
yeah.
be 3-2 on more hitters than you'd like to see. And you want somebody to throw strikes. The more strikes they throw, the quicker they get the hitters out, possibly, and move on to the next hitter, and the inning's over, and they save some of their bullets. But your ball one, ball two, ball three, strike, ball four, or strike, whatever. You're throwing too many pitches, and that adds to problems in this day and age.
Ross, can I quickly ask you a question about injuries for players going into the off season? Does every player before they go home go through like a quick exit physical?
Usually,
Okay.
usually they're checked out, and I know at the minor league level, I imagine that there's so many doctors and people at the major league levels. I would have to think they know what the deal is,
Okay.
because I mean, to be a free agent, you got to get all kind of tests
Right.
and what have you. So I would say, yeah, they know who's got problems and who doesn't, what problems they should work on, what problems they are going to work on, and go from there. But yeah,
Ross, we've got this. We're taping today. It's 4:20 on Monday the 4th. Uh, by 5 o'clock, the club has to make the decision, and we had a scheduling situation where we couldn't go past 5 o'clock today because of my schedule. But Corbin Burns and Anthony Santander, the club is obviously going to present them the qualifying offer, a 1 year deal. I think it's Luke, is it 21 million for
It's about
1 year?
21 mil. Yeah.
21 mil. Both are expected to decline the offer, but that ensures that the Orioles will get some type of compensation when they sign, if and when they sign elsewhere. Um, what kind of money do you expect both players to get, Ross?
Good question.
I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but
Yeah. It's hard to say with Santander should get he should get something not a Soto type thing, but he's gonna what do you look at, Luke, 200, 250 maybe?
Santander?
Yeah.
yeah, I think
I
it's
would think
about, I think
more.
a buck and a quarter.
What, for
Honestly, for
over
him,
5 or 6 years?
I would say more along the lines of 4 years, 80 mil to 5 years, 100 mil if it gets kind of
Yeah.
that's what I would say for him.
Now that's yeah.
Um,
Burns, Luke? What are they going for right now? 35 a year?
a top of the rotation starter is about $35 million a year on the open market. And for
Right.
Burns, I would say 35 times six, that's 210.
Yeah,
Um,
something in that ballpark.
And
and
how
that's
old is he?
he's either 30 or going to be 30 next year.
Oh, well, that's
And
I-
so, and there are some red flags with him long term. The strikeout rate has gone down each of the past 4 or 5 years since his monster year, I think in 21. The cutter velocity is down a tick or two from that period. It's not quite the same cutter, although he finished really strong this season when he made a tweak to his cutter. He sort of got hit around in August when his cutter was just flat. And so they made some adjustments and he finished the season strong. But yeah, I would say for Burns is going to get paid. This is still a top of the rotation
Yeah,
arm. As Stan has mentioned a couple times on this show, watching him can be a little bit of a taffy pull because you feel like he should be a little bit more aggressive with the stuff he has. He can nibble a little bit too much, but this is still a horse. And for me, I think he'll get about 35 times six. That
where
makes
do you
sense.
expect them to end up, Luke? I've said the Mets all
I
along.
think it could very well be the Mets with the Stearns connection and with Cohen having obviously deep pockets and not afraid to use them. I could see San Francisco. He
Yeah,
lives in Arizona, so he might want to sign out west where he can train where he lives in the
that's a
spring.
good ball. Is that a good ballpark for him, Ross?
fantastic. It's a big park,
Yeah,
and with the new people taking over,
yeah.
that's going to be
Buster
interesting.
Posey may want to
Yeah,
make
because they
a
got
splash.
they got the Bucks. That's
Yeah,
not, and you'll have some hopefully with Posey, you have baseball people more involved in making decisions, and that will really be a big thing.
by the way, they named the general manager of the Angels, Perry Manasian. His brother is now the GM under
Examination, yeah.
Zach Manasian is now the GM. Buster Posey just named him. Let me take a timeout and pay our one bill right now on the show that costs us in. And guys, this is our last show for about a month, maybe 5 weeks. But do we have our thumbs working?
Always.
Always, always at the ready. 6 thumbs for the Costas Inn, our favorite place in Baltimore to dine out or to take out. The website is costasin.com. That's COSTASINN.com. Again, nightly specials that are fantastic Monday through Friday, including a Monday special, which is a half-pound crab cake for $30 with 2 sides. That's a great deal. But they've got all kinds of specials throughout the week, Monday through Friday. So check out the Costas Inn. Stop in there. Great place to watch the Terps play basketball. The Terps play football. The Ravens play football. The Wizards play basketball. Is that what they play down there with the Wizards, Luke? Do they play basketball?
Yeah, they got a few exciting young players, as a
Yes,
matter
they
of fact.
do. Yes, they do, as a matter of fact. And they play the Golden State Warriors tonight at 7 o'clock. And the Terps are on at 7 o'clock, correct, Luke?
Yeah, it's not on TV necessarily. It's on like BTN Plus.
Oh,
So
okay. So you got to go online to get it.
yeah, or
Okay.
listen on the radio.
All right. Johnny Holiday on the call in those games. But anyway, getting back to the Costas Inn, and again, a fan favorite of the Costas Inn is the crab cakes, the crab soup, and steamed crabs. They've got them all year round. But the days of walking into a great crab place like the Costas Inn and just thinking, hey, me and 8 buddies or, four couples are going to come and have crabs. You got to make a plan in front of it. 410 477 1975, the Costas Inn. You won't be sorry you chose them. We give them 6 thumbs one more time this baseball campaign. All right, guys, to wrap up, uh, Luke pointed out to me several times during the World Series. Each time we would watch faux pas after faux pas by the New York Yankees, be it defensively, base running. It was a clown show. It really was. That Ross Grimsley had said the Yankees are not buttoned down. They don't have it all tied down. They don't play fundamental baseball very well. Ross, my question is, if that isn't the purview of the manager who's been there for 7 years, what the hell is the purview? What exactly do they love about Aaron Boone, other than the fact that he can't crack a smile anymore?
That's got to be a tough place to manage, coach, or what, and even
Oh
play.
God, yeah.
But I mean, the fact, I mean, the Yankees, and we saw it all year. That they're the worst base running team in the American League. The defense, how Juan Soto could be up for a Gold Glove, I have no idea. That is hell. He don't know where to throw the ball if a runner's on base, and I mean, it could go. You can't throw a guy out from short right field. But I mean, overall, they just do so many things poorly. In that, one of the problems in the game today, they don't coach during the game. And at the major league level, I guess they don't think you have to coach. But these guys, obviously, they don't know where to throw the ball. They don't hit a cutoff man. They don't know how to run I tell you, you get a guy gets a base hit to right field with a runner on first. There's a good chance the runner that is running from first to third is going to turn around and look at the right fielder to see what he's going to do. When you got a coach right there and they all do it, and you go, "What are you doing? Just run, and you'll probably make it." But it's mind-boggling. The World Series. Watching that was a plethora of crap.
Yeah.
It was awful. I mean, it was
a POC, a plethora of crap.
I mean, that is not a Yankee team of the past, a championship team.
No,
that's
not
embarrassing.
Bobby. That was not Bobby Richardson at second base.
Oh God! I mean, just do the basic stuff. But
Help
it
me
was embarrassing
understand.
for the Yankees. It was
Help me
embarrassing for the league.
Help me understand one play. The key play where Ohtani gets to third base when the ball gets away from Torres. We can criticize Soto for not being able to make a stronger throw, but with the game on the line, that was Luke, wasn't that the 7th or 8th inning?
Yeah, I
think it was the 8th inning, top of the 8th inning, and Otani's on second base where you got to have a hit to drive him in. Doesn't Torres have to go meet the ball rather than waiting for the ball to be short hop and then it gets away from him?
You at least got to knock it down. Keep it. Try to keep it in front of you and not through, because it goes through a good chance.
But why can't he be just aggressive and jump up 10 steps and field the ball?
That's the way they got that. They do a lot of things poorly. And
are you a Boone fan as a manager?
No. A lot of these. I mean, and one thing you got to look at, and I just heard this. A lot, 80% of who you play comes from the front office. So you're kind of got your hands tied.
Right.
Because they're putting this guy in, and as a baseball person, that guy probably shouldn't be there, and he probably shouldn't be hitting where he's hitting. But you have to do it. But again, like I was saying, I mean, that was such an embarrassment. An embarrassment for not only the Yankees, but the league, the American League. There's 6 teams better than the Yankees in the National League.
Yeah.
And they were all in the playoffs. But watching that, I mean, something Garrett Cole doing what he did was what happened. I know a lot of guys don't cover first base; they're late or something. He just stopped, and that was it. What are you thinking? It's mind boggling. It really is.
They teach you you have to break toward the bag, and then if the fielder can handle it,
Yeah,
you're taking care of
but
business, you
it's.
know.
I mean, that was
Terrible
just
play.
silly. Yeah, but
That was even having said all of that about the Yankees, that inning was beyond belief. That fifth inning
no.
of that game, the
But
5 run
again,
fifth
back to
inning.
your point, Stan, about who's to blame. Well, I mean, they don't do fundamentals the way they used to be done. They don't work on what the
Well,
pitchers
when you
can't
say
even
they, are you talking about the Yankees
the
specifically,
organization,
or all teams?
the organization.
The organization.
Certain organizations do more than others, but I mean, if you get some athletes that can normally do some things, but you watch a game, the pitchers can't field the ball, they can't throw a ball to a base. That's a crapshoot, and that all comes down to just working on those things. You have to work on them, or you get what you just saw. You remember, I think a few years ago when Detroit lost the World Series because their pitchers couldn't cover first or field balls. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. That's a basic thing, but they just don't do the work that they used to do because big thing now, everybody's got to rest. Everybody's got to rest. The worst fundamental, but the best rested players of all time. You know,
Luke, do
crazy,
you have a
just
comment
crazy.
on the World Series?
No, but it sure seemed like Ross did.
Yeah, I do. I did. I will.
I don't really have anything to add.
Yeah.
I picked the Dodgers in 6 games. After the second game, I thought they were going to sweep. The Yankees did, and they talked about the announcers. They talked about it like like Judge. Judge is really, he got a hit off of Brett Honeywell, who gave up what 5 runs in the ninth inning or something like that, or
Oh
the
yeah,
eighth inning.
I've never seen a reliever wear it like he did in that inning. He threw 50 pitches to get 3 outs.
Yeah, yeah. It was just pretty astounding. But the Dodgers were the better team. Um, Ross, one thing about the Dodgers, it clearly wasn't by design that they were going to go into the postseason with just Yamamoto, Flaherty, and Bueller. Do you expect them to have? Well, they'll get Otani back as a starter next
Mm-hmm.
year. Do you expect them? Would they potentially let Bueller out the door now, or is he back in their totally in their good graces?
It depends on what they can get in a free agent market or trade.
Because I sure as hell in Baltimore, I'd give him a 2 year, $30 million deal or
Oh,
$32
but
million.
Bueller, when he first came up, he was fantastic,
Yeah.
unbelievable, and yeah, it just these
I
guys.
don't think that's a giant risk though. 16
No,
a year for 2 years.
no, he has some really good stuff, and you know what? I think he's getting stronger and bouncing back a little bit from
Yeah.
the injury. So that is somebody that you could possibly keep on the radar, looking that he could help. And
Luke,
Orioles need some stars.
do you expect the Dodgers to let him go
Um,
with the money they have and how many other positions they need? I think they sign him.
well, can I start with Flaherty?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he pitched himself off of the Dodgers.
I don't know if he did himself a ton of favors in October either.
No,
I think that October was kind of a microcosm of his entire career,
yeah,
especially since 2019. And he's just a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
That's what you call those kind of players, Stan, and really any sport. That you don't really know what you're going to, and sometimes you can tell right away from the first few pitches with Flaherty whether he's 91, 92 and sharp or 93, 94 and sharp. You know what I mean? I mean
yeah.
91, 92 and not sharp. With Bueller, boy, he was sure saying everything about wanting to come back and loving LA,
Yeah.
loving being a Dodger.
No, he's a Dodger.
And during the season, particularly in the playoffs, I was thinking to myself, boy, he's going to have a great bounce back year in Atlanta. That's sort of what I was thinking. Um, and he's not what he once was. I mean, if you remember when he came up with LA,
He
Stan,
was
he
electric.
was
Yeah.
throwing 98, exploding by hitters. Um, he's not quite that guy anymore. But I'll tell you what, game five, ninth inning, that's the best curveball I've seen him have in quite a while. And Ross, let me ask, I got a question for you now. So Bueller working on 1 day rest comes in probably with the best curveball he's had all year. When you're working on shorter rest than normal, first of all, uh, what benefits could that have that he might not have expected, that the Dodgers might not have expected, that would allow him, because he couldn't really spot his fastball, but he was really commanding that curveball, and the Yankees couldn't lay off of it and they couldn't hit it. So, like, why is there any correlation there?
I mean, throwing in between on a side day, depending on what you did, how many pitches, how taxing those pitches were on you, the kind of game it was going with gives you an idea of what effort you got to put into the pitches and stuff. But he probably felt good. He probably threw some on the side, said, "I feel good today," and I was surprised that he was in there coming back from the injuries that he had. But yeah, I mean, he just has to probably learn to stay under control and not overthrow. I mean, because you try to overthrow curveballs, they're going to be spinners. Obviously, he was together, didn't try to overdo it, and he was able, like you said, didn't locate his fastball, but his breaking ball was, he could throw it for a strike, and he could throw it look like a strike, and they'd swing and miss it, which the Yankees were doing all day long for all the games that were played. So yeah, I mean it's everybody's different. You just got to get a feel for how they feel and just trust them. And obviously he did a good job. With
Well,
Flaherty, when Flaherty came up, you mentioned him. He had tremendous stuff.
oh, he was eye popping.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was he was almost like Bueller when he came
Oh,
up.
yeah, absolutely.
Seeing both of them, and just that time getting hurt and trying to come back, and some guys make it all the way back, some don't, and
So with the Dodgers stand, and I know we're running up against it right now, but I wanted to ask you about this quickly. For their rotation, they're probably going to have a six-man rotation next year.
I
So they'll
would
have
agree.
Yamamoto, Otani, and then they'll have to make a decision on Bueller and Flaherty.
And
And
Glass now will be back
we'll
in
be
some
back.
capacity, but how many innings can you really count on
Right,
him?
probably like 120.
And do they roll the dice again with Clayton Kershaw?
It'll probably have to be on a lower amount than it has
Yeah,
been in the past.
yeah,
But if you can get 15 starts out of him next year, I think that they would probably sign up for that. And the
yeah.
other piece of the puzzle, well, two pieces of the puzzle. Max Fried is a SoCal guy. The Braves had tried to get him signed up to a long-term extension a while back. Didn't happen. He's going to hit free agency. I could very well see him as a match in LA. And if the Japanese kid Roki Sasaki ends up going to the market and wants to come stateside, he's going to be a Dodger.
yeah, really,
So that's just what's going to happen.
Well, that begs the point that gets to wrap up this, and we'll reconvene around the baseball winter meeting. Is Walker Bueller, if somehow they feel that they can cover the Dodgers,
Hmm.
just sort of they're going to let's say they re-sign Flaherty, and they now have Otani. They got Glass now, Kershaw. They're going to get one other guy, but they do let maybe it's Max Fried or maybe it's Corbin Burns, and suddenly there's no room for Bueller. Luke, do you like him in Baltimore on a 2 year, 30 to $32 million deal?
Well, speaking of taffy pull, his season was a taffy pull prior to October. And
Yeah, but again, remember he was coming back from
I
from
would be okay with that if they got a more stable top of the rotation piece to go along with it. I wouldn't want that to be the Orioles' only rotation addition.
okay.
If you wanted to take a stab at him in addition to a more known quantity, I listen.
All right. That's going to do it for today. We thank our friends at the Costas Inn. They've always been there for us. We urge you to, not just because they've been loyal to Stan the Fan and Press Box, but just because it's a great place. It's 6 thumbs up for all of us one more time for the Costas Inn. That's going to do it for today. We will be back around the winter baseball meetings and as events warrant throughout the months of November and December. And we look forward to chatting with you starting in kind of mid to late January of 2025 and get a whole nother baseball season in. You up for that, left-hander?
Got it, buddy. Got it.
All right. All right. It's been a pleasure. Hope you've enjoyed the shows. Gary Stein and I will be back. We elected not to do something this week because of the election. We'll be back next Tuesday. We'll have somebody special on. For Luke Jackson, Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan Charles. We'll talk down the road. Bye.